Welcome to the TransMissions, Transformers 4 Age of Extinction movie review. We are back. We've all seen the movie. We're back to give our thoughts and feelings about the latest Transformers movie. And we've invited back our good friend, Greg, also known as TacomaPrime.
Howdy, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming back again, and thanks for guest hosting while I was away at BotCon. We appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. It was a blast. I had a good time with these guys.
Great. And I listened to
Your
it.
check's in the mail.
Wait, he gets paid? I never got paid.
It's more a bribe.
Nice.
You really don't expect there to be any willing Michael Bay fans out there, do you?
Yes. It's the number one movie again this week, so.
There's nothing for it to compete against, asshole.
All right, yeah. So before we start giving our thoughts on the movie, I just want to get a couple of things out of the way because I see a lot of these arguments being made back and forth, and just want to say, just because all the critics panned the movie, that doesn't mean necessarily it's a bad movie. It just means the critics didn't like it. So don't use that argument. And also, just because the movie made a lot of money doesn't mean it's a good movie. That just means a lot of people wanted to see it. So, on both sides. So I think, and also, don't bash people for liking or hating the movie. People can
Unless you're this guy.
I'm used to it now, though. That's the problem.
And yeah, so we're here to give our honest thoughts and opinions. So if you liked it and we didn't like it, that doesn't mean we hate you or we think you're a bad person. We invited Greg on, so clearly you don't have problems with people who like the movie. But these are just our opinions. So if you have different ones, that's fine. Leave them in the comments and let's continue the discussion.
We'd rather ignore you down here.
Oh, man.
And of course, please listen to our podcast at transmissionspodcast.com. Hopefully, you're enjoying that, and we always like feedback, so that's always nice. So, without further ado, let's start with our thoughts on the movie. So, I guess how about each of us go through and say what they liked about the movie, what they enjoyed, and what they didn't like about the movie, and then at the end, an overall judgment as. We'll do a Siskel and Ebert style, thumbs up or thumbs down. So, Greg, we'll start with you since you're our guest.
Oh, all right. What I liked about the movie, I liked this one seemed to have the most amount of action to me. As far as, robots beating the crap out of other robots. I liked that. Some of the other ones, there was a lot of time in between, fights and whatnot. And as I told you, Charles, I've seen it 3 times now, and actually, every time I've seen it, I've liked it. I've enjoyed it more. So, there's that to be said. What I didn't like, the big thing that kind of let me down was kind of 2 things, and I guess I should assume that by now people should know that this is spoiler-y. The Dinobots weren't in it nearly long enough, and they didn't talk. That was the thing I didn't like about the movie. I fully expected to hear a me Grimlock at some point, and I didn't hear that, and they weren't in it nearly long enough or utilized as well as I thought they could have been. So, obviously I'm not the director or the writer or anything like that, so that's their choice, but I would have done things differently as far as that goes. But I thought it was a good movie. So,
don't you feel let down that most of the marketing and the ad campaigns and the toys focus around the Dinobots?
I do. I think that was a huge reason that I was so excited to see it was because of the Dinobots, and that's again that's my biggest gripe is that the Dinobots just weren't in it enough for me, and were underutilized. Now to make up for it, I thought Lockdown was awesome as a bad guy. That was the coolest villain they've had so far, I think. But the fact that the Dinobots got hardly any screen time, didn't say anything, and were not. And I'm going to pull a Yoshi here. They weren't the Dinobots that I remember from G1 when I was a kid. That was kind of a letdown. I was definitely let down by that, but it didn't. That being that, it didn't make me hate the movie, because the rest of the movie as a whole I thought was really good.
All right. I definitely agree with you about the Dinobots. That's at the top of my list of my complaints about the movie. But let's move on, and we'll continue with Daryl. So, what did you think?
Well, I'm going to agree that I think probably my favorite part of the movie, or favorite aspect of the movie, probably was Lockdown. I really did like his character. I talked about it on our last episode that they really made him, gave him the ability to really make an entrance. Every time he kind of showed up, it was with a certain flair. And I noticed that, and it was really cool. I would have liked for him to have a little bit more of a speaking roles. Yes, he had a lot because he was the bad guy, but I would have liked for him to have more. Just because I would have liked to them develop his character a little bit more before they, ended, his character. But I probably would have liked the Dinobots was a big bit. That's a bit of a sticking point with me. But I think probably the thing for me, and I kind of went into this movie thinking this was going to be a plus, but it ended up being a bit of a detriment in the end, was the length of the movie was way too long. And it just seemed like it was just being dragged on too long. And maybe if it were a different type of Transformers movie, and I wasn't, really kind of, hoping for it to be over at the end, that maybe it wouldn't have bothered me so much. But really, going into the end of the movie, I was like, man, this is really taking a long time. And I was starting to look at the scenes and thinking, these aren't needed. This particular scene could be cut, and that kind of thing. Almost 3 hours long, and a lot of that could have been, not a lot, but I mean, there were certain parts of that movie that really didn't belong there. So,
like going up and down in an elevator 27 times.
For one that sticks out to me was there's an entire scene where they get near the beginning. Actually, Optimus drives them out to this abandoned gas station, I think it is, and he just kind of leaves them there, and they're there for like a night or whatever. And I was thinking to myself as I left the theater, I was like, I don't even think they did anything at this gas station.
Well, they did. They learned about the Romeo and Juliet law.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, they had to establish why it was okay for a 20-year-old to date a 17-year-old.
Yes, very important. Right, they couldn't have just made her 18. Yeah, no, I think there was that entire section of the movie could have been cut out with one small edit to the story with making the daughter 18 years old, right? But there's that entire section, which may have taken 5 minutes or so, could have been cut because it didn't process or progress the movie anywhere. So yeah, I thought that it was way too long, and then obviously I'm in full agreement that the Dinobots was a wasted opportunity.
All right, Greg, I forgot to ask you a thumbs up or thumbs down, but I guess I'm not gonna by your answer.
For me, it was a thumbs up. Again, I said the Dinobots were a letdown, but the rest of the movie, were there things that could have been cut? I agree with Daryl. There were some things that could have been left on the cutting room floor, but I enjoyed it. Like I said, I went and saw it 3 times, and every time I saw it, I actually liked it more. So I definitely give it a thumbs up.
All right. So Daryl, what's your final thoughts? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I guess if I'm going the whole Siskel Ebert kind of thing, I would go with one up and one down. So, yeah,
So sideways.
that's right.
All right, Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
Well, for the most part, I had fun watching it. I guess the things I like was I liked seeing Optimus in the old style cab over truck mode. That was pretty nice. I thought that Mark Wahlberg was a much more competent human than we've seen in any of the past movies. And whereas Shia LaBeouf was running away from the action, Mark Wahlberg's character was running into the action, trying to help out, which I thought was good. I wish that they had said he had moved to Texas from from the Boston area rather than saying he was from Texas, because I don't know any Texan that sounds like that. I thought Lockdown was awesome. I wish that we could have gotten a little bit more backstory there. I thought that Hound, who I didn't think I would like going into the movie, I thought he was good, and John Goodman just was awesome. I like that they didn't have Bumblebee beep. They at least had him speaking in some way. And I thought that Kelsey Grammer was an awesome human villain. I didn't like that Optimus killed him. He killed a human. That's not something that I don't think we've ever seen Optimus Prime kill a human ever in the 30-year history of Transformers. And that's just, I don't know, it seems out of character.
Well, I'm going to dispute you slightly. I mean, I don't know if that
you're getting corrected.
I mean,
we missed you, Charles.
Actually.
Well, I mean, there was in the IDW Escalation series, in I guess it was 2006 or 2007. They were chasing humans who had kidnapped Sunstreaker, and one guy was getting away in a truck, and Optimus Prime was standing in the road, and he let the truck crash into him, and the guy went head first through the windshield. And so
I didn't remember seeing that. Or was it an actual human, or was it one of those simulations?
No, it was a human, but he was in an organization that was headed by a Decepticon. It was the Machination.
Okay, so it's the second time that it happened.
Well, I mean, it's actually not clear if the guy died. He was shown semi-conscious after he went through the windshield.
Okay then, that's the first time.
It's a little known fact that when Optimus Prime backs up, his rig doesn't actually beep the warning, so he's probably run over hundreds of thousands of civilians.
Yeah. He's really depending on Bumblebee to be back there.
Yeah.
Beeping for him. So, I mean, besides Optimus Prime killing people, I kind of enjoyed the Dinobots, but I wish we had more of them. I wish that we actually had some backstory. Are they actual, sentient in the way that the other Autobots are sentient, or are they more beasts? It doesn't really tell us. I mean, I want some kind of history to the Dinobots. How do they end up on the ship? And then my other biggest problem is the length. I bet if you cut out 30 to 45 minutes of that movie, it would be a really good, concise sci-fi action movie that would be fun. So, anyway, those are all my thoughts, I think. And overall, though, I'd probably give it a thumbs up for an action movie, thumbs down for a Transformers movie.
All right. All right, and we come to.
Do we even need to ask this question?
So
Let's
I'm
just
sure.
let's just fucking get into this shit, Charles. All right, my
Alright,
biggest
Yoshi.
gripe with this fucking movie is that it
No,
was
no,
even made in the first place.
You got to start with what you
gotta
like.
get positive first, likes first. Give your one like first.
I like two things about this movie: John Goodman and Kelsey Grammer.
All right, fair enough.
I don't necessarily like the character John Goodman played, but I like the voice that was produced.
He wasn't your typical star voice.
Right. It sounded seasoned though, you know. I mean, I believed that this was like
Seasoned
somebody who
veteran.
took the military seriously.
Yeah.
But he did just get off that that World War II film where they had to
Monuments Men.
Monuments Men. Yeah. So, you know, he had something to draw from a little bit. And Kelsey Grammer was amazing. I mean, I'd like to see a movie with just him in it.
Just doing a monologue.
Yes. Just reading the phone book.
The Sideshow Bob movie.
There you go. That'd make you happy.
Okay, get out your laundry list. Let's hear the complaints.
I really hate that this film was made. It was so wonderfully vague. I mean, you guys are saying it without saying it. Who the fuck is Lockdown and who sent him and why? I mean, I'm sorry, but the creator is not a good enough answer. For 3 fucking hours, I sat down and I learned nothing. I was ready to walk out the second Transformium was mentioned. Flying Optimus Prime. We all know why that was horrible.
That would have been useful about an hour and a half earlier in the movie.
Yeah, apparently he had this ability the whole fucking time, and
I don't think he got that ability until he grabbed onto the sword and became a knight, did he?
are you
Who knows?
fucking with me?
We didn't see it until the last 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, I know, but like he didn't have that ability until he, you know, grabbed the sword and said, "Recognize me as a knight" or whatever. I thought.
If you
Maybe I'm
are
wrong.
able to make the mental connection between sword and supersonic flying, fine.
No, not the sword. I mean, like when he grabbed the sword and said, "Recognize me as one of your knights," he, you know, like his armor on his arms changed, and some of the armor on some of his other stuff on the rest of his body changed. So I assumed that's when he got it.
Yeah, he got a skirt at that point.
Well, they didn't really do a good job of explaining that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it could have been explained better, but
They didn't explain why he was a white truck to begin with in the beginning of the film.
well,
yeah, because he was being hunted down by humans, and he was ambushed and by humans, and he escaped and took that form to hide because they knew him as the long-nosed truck, and so when he was ambushed and they attacked him and he got away, he took on the form of the cab-over truck to hide
With
from
flames
humans.
still.
Right.
Not very good.
I'm starting to not like you, Greg.
I'm informing you. These aren't. I mean, I don't know this for sure. This is what I gathered from the movie. So
I'm wondering if there. I know there's not going to be a comic adaptation of the movie, but I'm wondering if there's going to be a novelization that does go into some of this background.
oh yeah.
Okay. Who was the voice of Crosshairs?
that was John
Bender.
DiMaggio.
John DiMaggio. I was expecting to be wowed by this, and I was completely disappointed by it. By his role, the character, the voice that he chose. It was, for a guy that's played Bender and Adventure Time Dog and all this other shit, I was just kind of bummed out. Like, a voice actor lost me. Where the fuck did the Asian samurai robot come from?
Oh, yeah, Drift.
Yeah.
Well, where did Hound come from? Where did Crosshairs
Well,
come from?
Yeah.
Exactly, but I mean, this is not your typical Transformer-looking thing. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing it, but when you've got a bunch of robots that quasi look alike, and then you've got this decked-out motherfucker with no explanation as to where he fucking came from.
Well, no real mention that he's a triple changer, because
Yeah.
he was a
Yeah.
helicopter and a car.
Yeah. What else here? It felt like Optimus Prime got his ass kicked up until he had to actually battle a Dinobot, and then all of a sudden he can kick the Dinobot's ass. I mean, the whole time it was just him getting beat up, and then he's able to smack this Autobot that is 5 stories taller than he is. It was way too long. I mean, I was in the movie theater. I was ready to leave when Lockdown brought out his superior alien technology of magnets to lift shit off the ground and just drop it repeatedly, like a child, like a goddamn child in China. You know, I wanted it. I wanted him to pick up Marky Mark, drop him, and then roll credits. I was done. I was yawning. It was horrible. I want to like this, and I can't. There's nothing there for any real thinking people. I'm done.
So, thumbs up or thumbs down, Yoshi?
I have to give this 2 violent, exploding thumbs down.
All right.
Can we put a disclaimer at the beginning of this? Like, you know, if you like these movies, you don't want to watch this review.
I think I took care of that at the beginning.
I hope so. I hope that was well stated.
All right.
Charles, what did you think of the film?
All right. So, you know, I liked a lot. There was a lot more robot interaction, and I liked that. You know, I liked the new characters for the most part. I actually did like Crosshairs. Just to to disagree slightly with you, Yoshi. I liked his performance and his interaction, and I liked Hound too. I thought Hound was kind of the breakout star. I liked Lockdown. I also liked Frank Welker back as Galvatron. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, he was definitely using his prime Megatron voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And I liked all the bits without the humans. I liked. I went in actually kind of excited for this movie, and I wanted to like this movie, and I wanted to, and so I think a lot of when I hear people complaining about the movie, and then other people saying, oh, just turn your brain off, it's not Shakespeare. I don't expect it to be Shakespeare, but I did expect to be able to follow the story from point A to point B, and that was what was disappointing to me. I mean, from the beginning, where you start off with 65 million years ago, and the creators dropping the seeds on Earth, and then and you think that has something to do with the Dinobots? No, it has nothing to do with the Dinobots. So, I mean, that's the first. Oh, were you gonna say?
I forgot something about the whole seed thing. I mean, it's this bomb, and they're expecting a human to drag it around when they have perfectly good robots that can transform into vehicles, even armored vehicles, that could quickly transport it.
Even fly it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or fly it.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I was disappointed in the fact that the movie didn't seem to think that the audience was expecting any kind of story. Like, just throw enough stuff to blow up at you and throw enough action scenes, and that's enough. You don't need any kind of, narrative consistency or anything. And that was what disappointed me. And and on top of that, the Dinobots were barely in it at all, and then didn't even speak at all. I really disliked that. And it's still a thorn in my side that they still don't let Bumblebee talk. Let him talk. Let him be a character, please. I mean, I know he didn't do beeps and boops, but he was still like this kind of, talking through the radio thing. Just let him have a normal speaking voice, please.
Yeah.
He
Like
never.
the guy that did it in Transformers Prime.
Yeah. So that really still annoyed me. And so the whole thing with, like, they start off like establishing when Optimus Prime is talking to Cade, and he talks about how his spark is his soul and everything, and then they go to the whole thing with how Megatron somehow infected all the human Transformers, but his spark wasn't there. So how did he do that? His brain is able to do that without his spark, or were all the other robots just extensions of him and not their own individual robots either? I mean, that they didn't explain that at all. I mean,
Charles, I find it better if you just don't think about it.
well, that's the thing. It's okay if you don't. I don't need to think deeply about it, but I need a little bit of explanation. I mean,
If they
those.
introduce an idea, you would like to have follow up on that idea.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I did like was the world building in terms of, like, you introduce Lockdown, and I would guess. I mean, I hope if the movie writers know what they're doing, that they'll introduce the Quintessons as the creators at some future movie. I mean, I'm okay with them leaving that as a mystery for the next movie, that you don't know who the creators are exactly. But they didn't make any kind of effort to tie it to all the stuff that they did in the last 3 movies. Like, the last 3 movies were all about this Allspark and the Primes. Like, it seems like Earth is like the most heavily visited planet for the Transformers at different eras. They came 65 million years ago to terraform the planet. Then the Primes came to, like, recharge the Allspark from with the sun from the second movie. I guess everyone's forgotten about that. And it's like, what are they? And then the other thing is, like, okay, if the creators came to, like, terraform Earth with those seeds, why are humans here at all? Why didn't they destroy the Earth then when they destroyed the dinosaurs? How did life still continue to evolve at all? And they didn't make any effort to.
One dinosaur survived. It was just a little guy.
Well, they did. I mean, they showed when they showed the little creator ship's tentacle going down and grabbing the transformium.
God.
You could see that there was, like, still green space, so, like, they didn't destroy the entire Earth. So, like, they planted enough seeds to create enough transformium for whatever they needed, and then left. That's what I assumed from it.
Okay.
Is Bay paying you?
I wish.
But yeah, so, and then at the end, I thought, like, that scene at the beginning was going to tie into the Dinobots somehow, and then at the end, it doesn't tie into the Dinobots at all. The Dinobots are just dinosaurs because. And, like, they've never been to Earth before. They've been prisoners in Lockdown's ship for 1,000,000 years. I don't know however many years they've been prisoners. And they're dinosaurs. And even the characters don't even, like, remark about giant robot dinosaurs. Nobody says, "Hey, look, a giant robot dinosaur."
Right.
Nobody even seems to notice. I think one, like, maybe was the Crosshairs or Hound said, like, I thought they would turn into giant cars. I think that was like the only line that referenced that they were, like, not. I mean, and it was just like, is anyone, like, surprised at giant robot dinosaurs? It's like no one seemed to care.
I think if you're seeing giant robots fight all around you, having a robot dinosaur, you're like, well, what else were they gonna do?
At that point in the film, it just didn't matter to me.
Yeah. And then the whole thing of how is Optimus Prime a knight and these guys are knights, and I thought Optimus Prime was like the last Prime descended on Cybertron, and he was he had no, and like, did the Autobots know Lockdown before this movie? Like, they seem to recognize him, but then he's this ancient guy who's working for the creators, but they don't know who the creators are. So how does Lockdown know who they are? I mean,
they start filming before the script is done, Charles.
And then at the end, like, and then throughout the movie, they're like, yeah, we got a ship so we can leave Earth. And then at the end, Optimus Prime doesn't need a ship to leave Earth. He can just fly. His jet boots are capable of interstellar travel, apparently. So, I mean, so basically, I have a scale here. You know, it's okay. You know, sorry, good action scenes. No plot, no story, makes no sense at all. And this just completely outweighs all the good stuff. So for me, thumbs down. So that's it. That's.
I am not alone.
I saw someone on Facebook today mentioned the length of it and how, you know, it could be cut short, and I just remembered the comment I made to him was that entire last third of the movie seems to have been rushed, because there was a point in the Lockdown Prime scene, I mentioned this on the last podcast, that the CGI quality seems to have dropped during that fight at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a scene where you see someone next to Mark Wahlberg as he's crouching, like before Kelsey Grammer's about to kill him. And you see two people there, like Mark Wahlberg and someone else. And then the camera changes and goes back, and it's just Mark Wahlberg. Mm-hmm. It seems like the very end of the movie was very rushed.
Which is funny because that was the scene where Prime and Lockdown are fighting at that Chinese like grain bin thing. That's one of the first scenes they shot.
Oh.
So I don't know why it looked like crap, but I agree with you.
Well, I mean, the CG was probably the last thing done, even though they had the physical stuff shot.
Oh, Jeremy,
yeah.
Do you think that guy that was standing next to Mark Wahlberg could have been Dalrymple?
Oh, there you go. We'll have to get a screenshot once it's out on disc.
We'll have to start like this conspiracy page.
So I have a question for you guys that didn't like it. Who do you blame? Do you blame Michael Bay, or are you like me, where I mean I like the movie, but the things that were wrong with the movie, I don't blame Michael Bay. I blame Aaron Kruger, because Aaron Kruger is the one that wrote the movie. Michael Bay is just taking the script and putting it on film.
But he still has the ability to cut stuff out of the script and change things.
Yeah, if you look back at the interviews when Transformers were starting out, before the first film came out, he was very adamant about changing everything. You know, it wasn't like, you know, the writers wanted Optimus Prime to look like he looks like now, and that, you know, they didn't want to have the ship crash into Mount Hillary. He had his hand in that process. And, you know, the second or the third movie was the writer's strike, and that was like the second film, that was all him. I mean, it's so it makes you wonder why that was the worst film. But, you know, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was a discussion about like, why don't having the Dinobots talk, for example, or why did you need to change the pterodactyl Dinobot to have two heads? I mean, that's the other thing. Like, there were all these changes to the look of the Dinobots and you know, how they were, and those were completely not even relevant for the movie. Like, why did you need a two-headed pterodactyl? Why couldn't you just have a regular pterodactyl that looked more like the G1 Swoop and call him Swoop? I mean, maybe the name was
I think they've lost the
issue.
name for right now.
Okay, well that's fine, but why not have him look like Swoop? I mean,
yeah, they could have called him Strafe and still been a one-headed pterodactyl.
Yeah, I mean, and those things are, I understand these things are like, these are terribly, terribly nitpicky things, but these are things that are so small that you could easily change that would satisfy G1 fans like me and not really change the rest of the movie. And why don't you do it? Like, why give the Dinobots one line of dialogue, and you would have made me happy if you had one conversation with Grimlock and Optimus Prime. And,
Right. If after that fight between Optimus and Grimlock, he said, "Me, Grimlock, follow Prime" or something, the entire audience would erupt.
Oh
yeah. And I just don't understand. I mean, there's got to be someone in the room saying, hey, people are expecting this. Why don't we give this to them? And somewhere, and I'm guessing Michael Bay is the one who has the final decision and says, no, we're not going to put this in.
I blame Bay for a lot of it, but I also blame Hasbro for not having in the contract any kind of, being able to say, no, this is our IP. We don't want this, or we do want this. It seems like for the movies, they're just completely hands off. They're just like, here's the address to send the buckets of money.
They had a chance. This is supposed to be a new trilogy. They had a chance to reboot it and make it better.
What?
And they didn't.
I read an article today by where they were interviewing Lorenzo de whatever his name is,
the producer,
and he was. I think the reason they aren't homaging G1 is because of him. Because one of the things he said was that if you tried to make a movie, G1-ish, it would be laughable.
Horseshit.
So I think he's the one that's, for those of you that want it to be, closer to G1, I think he's the one that's killing that, based on this interview that I read.
Yeah, and I don't understand. Like, I understand not wanting it to be, some kind of aping the G1 cartoon. I don't want that either. But
right.
I mean, throw in a couple of lines that like Transformium. Change it to Cybertronium, and you're referencing the G1 cartoon. It's just as lame and stupid, but it's still referencing the old show, and you're adding a little bit of lore that the G1 fans would recognize, and no one else would know the difference.
I think for Transformium, I think Michael Bay and James Cameron have been hanging around too much with their unobtainium.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, but I think these these movies are important because they bring money to the franchise. So I'm really happy that it's doing well, and hopefully that means Hasbro will continue to do well and give us the stuff that I want, like that G1 RC that they announced at BotCon. So I'm happy that they're that they continue to be in the black and are giving us new stuff, and hopefully that means IDW will continue to make comics that I like to read. So I'm happy about that. I'm also happy that fans like yourself, Greg, who like the movies and got to see it 3 times, are enjoying it. So more power to you for enjoying it. Just for me, it had to be a thumbs down for me. So
sure. Yeah.
So I think anyone else have any final thoughts before we close it out?
Nope.
All right, so we hope
this should have ended.
Yeah, we've probably gone on too long ourselves. So, but so as I said at the top, we do a regular podcast at TransMissionspodcast.com. You can check some links down in the show notes. We also do a regular YouTube video every week where we show off all the Transformers-related stuff we got in our trips to the store. So be sure to check those out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yoshi's showing you a preview for next week. And Greg, thanks again for joining us for our movie review here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me again. It was fun again.
Great. And where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on Twitter. My handle is @TacomaPrime, and on YouTube, my user channel is Mr. TacomaPrime. I'm on there quite a bit, so feel free to check them out.
You're a little bit more
Awesome.
respectable on YouTube than you are on Twitter.
And
Well, thank you.
we'll have and we'll have a
Thank-
link to his channel on the show note in the in the description down below there.
Thanks again, Greg. We'll see you in 2 years for the next one.
I will be there for sure.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.